Hi, I'm Amanda Gargiulo, and I'm so excited that you joined me for another chance to nourish your soul. I wanted to come actually into my mom's kitchen today to show you guys how easy it is to bring whole foods into your everyday lifestyle. One of the biggest questions I get from clients, friends, family, basically everybody is, what do I eat? So guys, I have it for you, an incredible recipe from a website called Eating Bird Food. I'm gonna go through it with you guys really quickly. Let's get started. We're gonna be making baked falafel, which is a nice healthy way to make a recipe that's usually fried. First thing you're going to want to do with this recipe is to preheat your oven to 375 and set up your cookie sheet. I like to line it with parchment so that I don't have to use extra oil, just to save a few calories. What you're going to start with is a 15-ounce can of chickpeas, already rinsed, strained, ready to go. You're gonna throw them into your food processor. I like to just use organic whenever I can, just so that there's less pesticides and less things used on the product. So now this recipe calls for onions. My husband, Chris, he hates onions, so I always leave it out. But if you're somebody who loves onions, feel free, a quarter cup of chopped onions and throw them into the food processor. You're gonna take your garlic. I use the already minced garlic, 3 cloves of fresh garlic, so it's 1.5 teaspoons is the measurement when it's already made. So throw that right into your food processor. They call for a half cup of fresh parsley. I'm somebody who doesn't always have fresh parsley on hand. So if you're gonna go for the dried version of a fresh herb, the trick is to just use half because it's a little more intense and fragrant. So I just go for a quarter cup of the dried parsley. This recipe calls for lemon juice, but we forgot the lemons. So that's the good thing about cooking versus baking. With baking, it's really an exact science, but cooking, you can kind of play with it, manipulate it to what works for you. So we're leaving out the lemon juice. And then we're gonna add our 1 teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of coriander, and this recipe also calls for 3/4 teaspoons of sea salt. When I made it that way, it was really salty. I use between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon instead. So throw it all into your food processor. This recipe also, another thing, it calls for cayenne. I don't like things spicy, so I leave it out. And I'm gonna encourage you guys to put it on low first, because you wanna make sure that it stays a little chunky. You don't want it to turn into hummus. So you wanna have that texture. So keep going a little longer. So now we're gonna throw in a tablespoon of olive oil, just to help everything come together. So I'm just gonna pulse it now so that the texture doesn't get any finer. So we keep those nice pieces of texture in there. So I'd love for you guys to just see what that looks like, that it's still a little bit chunky. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We're gonna stir that, grabbing a spoon. My mother's kitchen is incredible, it's so beautiful. I love cooking here. I don't know how much she loves when I throw her out of her own kitchen, but it's so nice here. This recipe calls for oat flour. Now I'm an advocate of, because oat flour is a whole food, it's, chopped down, finely chopped down oats, which is great. It's a great replacement for a traditional flour as well. But in this recipe, when I've done that in the past, it comes out a little bit gritty and dry and falls apart. So I do use traditional flour when I make this recipe at home. It calls for 3 tablespoons. And this recipe, my husband, who's not into eating as much whole foods as I do, he's somebody who actually does request it. And when I made it the last time, he asked if I could do this a few nights a week. It made me a very happy wife. So you could see now that as we throw in the flour, it's starting to combine. So this way we're gonna be able to make little patties out of it and then throw it right into the oven. So simple, so quick. Within 15 minutes, you have dinner already in the oven. And I'm gonna use the tablespoon to measure out each of the little patties. Okay, so I'll grab the cookie sheet. There goes the parchment. Take a little tablespoon, and I like to just make it almost like you're rolling up meatballs, and then just flatten it out just a little bit, and then you just throw it right on your cookie sheet. They don't get much bigger than that, though there is a little bit of baking soda, so just be mindful of the spacing on the cookie sheet. It's gonna yield about 15 little patties. And just so you guys know, to keep in mind, 1 serving is 3 patties, and it's 143 calories for the 3 patties. Thankfully, when this woman created the recipe, she made sure all the nutrition facts were right there on the recipe itself. These remind me actually of when I went to Israel. What an experience that was. But there is nothing like falafel and shawarma and all that food when you're in Israel. Oh. Even their tomatoes and their lettuce and their cucumbers, it all tastes so different than it does here. I don't know what it is. Magic stuff they put in there. Probably just because it's really, really fresh. Okay, so we're just gonna throw it in the oven now. It's 375. Depending on your oven, it's between 10 and 12 minutes. So then after that first 10 to 12 minutes, we flipped it and then cooked it another 10 to 12 minutes. So I wanted to let you guys know how I like to serve it myself. So personally for me, I like to serve it over a mixed green salad for myself with cucumbers and olives. And then I do throw a little bit of tzatziki dressing right on top. So my husband, who's a big fan of carbs, likes the greens as well, but he likes them inside of a whole grain pita. So I like to take the mixed greens, put in some cucumbers for him, some olives, just like that. And then grab those 3 little falafels right in there. And then he's a big fan of the tzatziki. And there you have it, it's all set. So I'm actually gonna ask Mom to come on in to taste it. So here's Mom.
Hey everyone!
That's Ellen. Do we look alike?
I'm back in my own kitchen.
Yay! So give it a taste and let me know.
Okay.
Delicious.
Yay! Mom
Very
approved.
good.
So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found that another wonderful way to nourish your soul. Oh, and she wants another bite, guys. That's how you know it's good.